The Celtics somehow are still alive. There'll be a game 7 next on First to the Floor.
Who was going to be first to the floor here? And it was Marcus Smart, as he usually is.
Brown drives, scoop layup off the glass.
That's not the first time we've seen a superstar in premium white sacrifice the body.
Sorry, knocked away.
Wayne Spooney here. I'm here with my guy, Hot Take Jake, the man with the mistress, even though I've heard they're a bit on the outs. And we're going to break down what was a bizarre, at times eerie Game 6 in Philadelphia as the Celtics win 95-86. Jake, how you doing? What's your takeaway? How do we even break down a game like this?
Yeah, look, analysis, probably not going to be the word to describe what's going to happen in the next 20 minutes. Like, back from the dead. And what's crazy is the game was like not ever over somehow. Like somehow it felt like we were before we came on, and we were like, we had bargained with the Grim Reaper at this point. We were like, just wash over me. I'm ready. Take me towards the light. But then our guy, I don't know what happened to him in the first half and the first half of the fourth quarter. Or I don't even know when it happened.
There was literally like 3.5 minutes left when he hit that first three.
Wow. That's why it's a 48-minute game.
Yeah, dude. Maybe 4 minutes left. Like, there was not a lot of time left. Keith Smith tweeted out, and I thought he kind of captured how it felt perfectly. He's like, the Celtics are down 10. The game is tied, but somehow they're down 10. And it was like, it felt like when they got that clear path foul to make it, I think, 83-81.
That was it.
I honestly was like, that's the backbreaker. They made another mistake. They're never going to recover from that. And then they just did. But like, let's talk a little bit more about Tatum's performance. Like, he went 5 for 21. But other than that, 9 boards, 6 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, too many turnovers. He had 4 and only 1 personal foul, despite playing some pretty incredibly physical defense. So is this the strangest game you've ever seen a superstar play?
I'm going to say Daniel Portillo in the chat here, has a single player ever single-handedly ruined their legacy and saved his legacy in like a single game? I don't know. Like, it reminded me of the Pats Atlanta Falcons comeback, but this is what's crazy about this game. Perfect tweet by Keith Mick. We were never down at all. Tatum, I thought the process was mostly good except for like the drives. I thought the third quarter was when it got really bad.
He was bad in the third quarter. Yeah.
The first half was similar to the first half of game 4 in that like the process was pretty good, and then he came out and dominated the second half. But the third quarter, it was the turnovers, it was the driving into traffic, it was the foul baiting, throwing his hands up. Like, in every way, he just looked like he was seeing ghosts. Like, the confidence, and this is why they're superstars, right?
Yeah.
Like, to have the confidence to have the game that he had, to not be worrying about like what the conversation's going to be about for the next 3-5 months, to be eviscerated by every talk show, every podcast, everywhere he goes, he's going to like be getting side eyes. For that to not infiltrate his mind and come back in the last 4 minutes and literally take over the game and shut the door to the point where we didn't even have to deal with the stress of clutch time. Really, it was just over. Yeah. And you're sitting there being like, is this actually over? How is this possible? What is happening?
It was so confusing because it felt like this tight game where it was like back and forth. It was points were hard to cut. Both teams' defense was incredible. Yeah. I mean, this was a high level defensive performance for both teams. And then all of a sudden, Philly's like walking around and gave up. Like, I honestly, like, from 3 minutes to like a minute and a half in the game, I don't even really remember what happened other than Tatum threes going, and that's it. And it's like, I don't remember how we got stops, but we did.
Well, so yeah, like, okay, we'll get to the double bigs thing, but Harden, right? So Tatum ends up 5 for 21. Harden was 4 for 16, 0 for 6 from 3, 5 turnovers, team low -10. And in crunch time, he was, Landon, I've transported to another state in my parents' house, added to the list of places Jake has recorded a podcast from. But Harden, he kind of went to game 2, game 3, brain explosion Harden. And I think that's going to be part of the story. One of these games don't happen. It's a classic takes 2 to tango situation. Like the Celtics obviously got it together, got stops, made shots, but the Sixers just, like, I can't wait to watch the Ricky Sanchez podcast, but I can imagine their perspective is going to be like, you have to win this game. Yeah. You cannot lose a game where Tatum looks like he's going to have to like move to the NBA.
Retire. Yeah.
That's it. Like we're watching this game being like, are we sure we want to pay these guys $500 million? They can't like pass the ball to each other from 3 feet apart. Like, and they're taking the clear path foul, but the defense from Tatum all game, like transition block on Harris, the rebounding. But he wasn't that clean on defense at times as well for Tatum. He didn't look super locked in early, but the confidence of this guy, man, game 6. And look, I don't want to take all the credit for this win, but I flew specifically to Sydney to recreate the environment of game 6 in Milwaukee. My dad, one of my best friends. And let's be honest, we did not think that the magic was working through 3.5 quarters.
Patience.
Sometimes the Lord works in mysterious ways. Yeah. And thankfully he turned up just in time.
Dude, I just still like truly am at a loss for words in a lot of ways. But Tatum's the story, but mostly for bad. The Celtics' best player in this game was Marcus Smart. And, oft maligned, sometimes deservedly so, sometimes not so deservedly so.
Mostly not deservedly so. Like
fair.
This playoff run,
especially this series. I thought in Atlanta, he had some warts in the Atlanta series, but I think he's been instrumental to every single win in this series and kind of a masterpiece from Marcus here. 22, 7, 2 steals, 3 turnovers, which is not ideal, but team leading. Plus 18, tied with Robert Williams. And, it wasn't one of those games where Smart's offense was like, oh, he just got crazy hot from 3. I mean, he was 3 of 8 from 3, perfectly fine, great. 8 for 15 from the floor. Oh, he seemed like the only guy who wasn't afraid of Joel Embiid at the rim. He was just so crafty with his finishes. He had that one fake pass to Robb where he laid it up lefty. No. Embiid was spun around, dude. It was like a skip to my Lou move. So, I'm not. This is maybe the biggest game of Marcus Smart's career. I don't know. Maybe not. That's probably
but this is the thing. This is Marcus Smart, man. You said he was the only one not scared of Joel Embiid. Marcus Smart, the only one not scared, full stop, any day of the week.
Period. Yeah.
Like, he from the get-go, he hit those 2 threes early, and you're like, well, it feels like the energy always finds Marcus. Mm-hmm. And that's just the type of player that he is. And he's not the best shooter in the world, but in the playoffs, man, 3 for 8 today, 4 for 10 in the game that they lost. Like, I don't have the full playoff numbers up in front of me here, but he has been shooting well and turning up in big spots throughout the playoffs. And like, how many big games, how many times has Marcus Smart saved us? And so, like, try and capture this and not forget, because we have a game 7, which we'll probably do. We're going to try and do another podcast where we can actually like take a breath and think about what happened and what game 7 will actually look like. But Marcus Smart, like, the reason we were like in the game, the reason it felt like we were down 10 when we weren't was because of Marcus Smart. And there was a couple other guys that kept us in it early and helped us build that lead, Derek and Malcolm. Mm-hmm. But without Marcus setting the tone on both ends, really, like, he was the best player on the court, like, for the Celtics at least. And then down the stretch as well, just making the Marcus Smart plays. Like, he's loved and trusted, man.
Yeah, and you know what? I thought Joe made a nice adjustment for the dagger 3 that Tatum hit, like, above the break. He put the ball in Marcus Smart's hands, had Tatum set the screen and pop instead of the opposite.
Yes.
And it worked perfectly. Smart made a perfect pass. Tatum hit the shot, and that was basically game over. I think that made it 9. So great job by Joe, who, oft maligned as well, oftentimes for good reason, and oftentimes maybe not so much, but nonetheless, like, you got to acknowledge when he does something right down the stretch. And he that was a great call by Joe to trust Marcus Smart with the ball. Yeah, and Smart shooting 36.4% from three in the playoffs, 46.6 from the floor, which is a career high since he started actually shooting. In a 4-game, his rookie year, I believe he shot 48% in 4 games. So for any real playoff run, this is easily a playoff career high at 46.6% from the floor. And, you just get, when he ripped that ball out of Embiid's grasp, I was like, oh shit, we got the good Marcus tonight, man. Like, that was such a hype play. And he just set the tone on both ends, really, like moving the ball, making the right decisions, getting into the lane, hitting your open shots.
He's the heart and soul of the team.
Yep.
And Ben in the chat here, game 2 against the Raptors. He hits those like 6 threes. Even game 7 against the Raptors, he has that clutch block on Norman Powell. That's just what he does. He's going to make clutch plays and plays other players on the team aren't going to make. You need that one guy. You need that wild card. You need that version of Draymond. And Marcus isn't the player that Draymond was at his peak, but he's the Celtics version of that. And you don't get to where you need to go without Marcus stepping up in big games. Like, you see the Warriors and the Lakers yesterday. Draymond steps up and has a big game. Back against the wall, you need one of your core guys, your captain, your culture setter in a lot of ways to step up. And
man, did he ever.
That's why Danny Ainge and Brad Stevens will never trade this guy, man.
Yeah, dude. God, he was so good. But speaking of Joe adjustments, we saw a big, he has been very stubborn about not going double bigs in the starting lineup this year. And then when all hope is lost, Philly has all the momentum. They're heading back home. He turns to the double bigs. And I mean, overall, I thought, there were some ugly stretches from Robb, I thought, at points in this game, but it was really, I thought it was effective, man. What'd you think? Actually, before you answer that, Jake, I believe that we have a word from our sponsor. We
do indeed. Spooney, our new sponsor, FanDuel. Make a fast break to FanDuel during the NBA playoffs, because right now new customers can get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Look, if I had a bet for Game 7, it's Celtics by 1 million. Just like today.
What are the odds?
I actually have not checked the odds yet. Let's do that quickly. Celtics in Game 7 are heavy favorites. Oh, wow. Well, that has gone very poorly for the Celtics. Celtics are minus 7.5 going into Game 7, and that is the exact same line as Game 5. So, feel about that how you will. But on FanDuel, great promotions every day. Safe and secure app. Get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet all the playoff action than America's #1 sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com/Boston and get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's FanDuel.com/Boston. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. 21 plus in select states. First online real money wager, only $10 deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG. In Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, or Virginia, 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In Arizona, 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat. In Connecticut, 1-800-9-WITH-IT. In Indiana, 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com. In Kansas, 1-877-770-STOP. In Louisiana, Gambling Help, linema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support. In Massachusetts, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. In Maryland, 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In New York, 1-800-522-4700. In Wyoming, or visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia.
Shit, wrong side. Yeah, so absolutely professional ad read. The chat is going bananas, Jake.
Well, thanks, chat. I really needed the support. Really impressive. Thank you.
So I'm D-Zach. He says he didn't think double bigs was going to be effective, but stopping the Sixers from playing Tucker and relying on Niang, Melton, and House. Credit to Joe for that. So, yeah, Jake, give it to us. Double bigs. What'd you think?
It worked. It depends on your assessment of what was wrong with the team, I think. And I thought the defense was the biggest issue because when they get stops, they can get out and run, and that kind of fixes the offense. When they get stuck in the mud, when you're not getting stops, you're pulling it out of the basket every single time. There are very few teams, even if you come into a game and say, we're going to run, even if they score, we're going to pull it out of the basket and go. If you're constantly pulling it out of the basket, mentally, it's just like, damn, we can't get stops, which drains your mentality. It's just human nature. And you're pulling it out of the basket. When you're getting stops, that helps juice the offense. And, the Celtics tried to lean into this offense first identity, and it sputtered at times. And I think going back to double bigs and trying to recapture the magic of the double big lineup from last season was the move. I was like, maybe it's Malcolm Brogdon into the starting lineup because Derek White has looked skittish, but they go back to Robb because they have to play Robb with PJ Tucker out there. At least that's when he's the most effective. And if Philly's going to have that starting lineup, you're going to get access to that look straight off the bat. And Philly's first sub was getting Tucker out for Melton, who looked very different today. I think, Melton was just awful from three, like major brick. Robb, I thought on defense was excellent. He's just jumpy. I'm hoping that going into next game, he keeps bit on how many pump fakes today. And for whatever reason, his hands don't work. Robb has typically some of the softest hands, but why can he not catch a dump off pass? How many easy buckets is he leaving on the table right now? Defensively, I thought it worked. Offensively, I thought it was fine. He just needs to catch the ball. Like that play where I don't forget who drove, but maybe it was Marcus. They dump it off to Robb and he fumbles it and he tries to go up. Embiid blocks it off his head and they call it off Robb and then they challenge it. That was right in the midst of, bargaining with the Grim Reaper. And that was maybe one of the nails in the coffin, but I thought it worked. It's just, everybody had Butterfingers out there. Derek was dropping. Everybody besides Marcus felt like had Butterfingers. Malcolm was getting stripped in transition. But Robb, on defense, he was making them think. He wasn't perfect though.
No, there was definitely not.
Obviously you're going to play off PJ Tucker, but there was some slow closeouts. I get playing off him, but once the ball goes to Tucker, you should close out hard because you want him to put the ball on the ground, right? He even made a layup today, but it even looked terrible. Matang 6'6" in the chat here. 18 turnovers. How did we win this game?
I don't know.
Which I think is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot to clean up. Tatum had the worst game he's had maybe ever for 3.5 quarters, and they were right in it for a few reasons we've already touched on. But I think you stick with this lineup and you force Philly to make an adjustment. Do they go to Melton in the starting lineup? That we'll see, because I think that gives Tatum, because they were late as well, to get him going. The old adage, get to the free throw line, see something go through, right? They put Tatum in the post and Melton was the go-to guy for that. Got himself to the free throw line. And if that's their adjustment to bring in Melton for Tucker, so it makes the Robb lineup less effective, then that's definitely a pressure point for Tatum that he feels really comfortable with. And maybe we see our first quarter Tatum in what feels like my whole life at this point. But what did you think of the double big lineup?
Yeah, so on the Melton switch, if we're in that double big lineup and they go Melton, we are so much bigger than them, right? They were kind of beating us on the glass with Tobias at the 3, PJ at the 4, and Embiid. That's a huge front court. And we saw at times the last couple games where we just could not get a defensive rebound. And then if you swap out PJ, who is inexplicably a pretty solid offensive rebounder, he's tenacious.
Best in the world.
He is a really good offensive rebounder, especially for his height. For Melton, and then we have Robb, Al, Tatum as our front line against, Embiid, Harris, and Melton. That is a massive size difference. And I think it can work, but we're going to dare Melton to shoot a ton of threes too. Like he's a very solid, accurate 3-point shooter, but he's like PJ in that he doesn't want to take 12 threes in a game. You know, he wants to take like 4 and 5 and go 2 for 5. That's his game. See ya, Celtics fan.
Appreciate you, dog.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by, man. So, I mean, it defensively, it worked phenomenally. I like you held these Sixers to 80 points when, you know, they've had a good to great offense for most of this series. That's huge. They did miss some makeable threes, but it's about time. Feels like they've been shooting over 40% the whole damn series. Like at some point that had to turn. So
the defense was much better. Like they've been shooting well in part because a lot of the games they've been wide open. Like game 1, Melton and Harris were just catch and shoot, so comfortable, wide open. When you were talking, you made me think of like, you know, they were missing shots and like, what's the key? Like, how do we get a win? Like, what's the key to getting a win? We have 3 wins and 3 losses. And the biggest difference in the 3 games that we've won versus the ones that we've lost has been Harden. Again, 4 for 13 today. Look at his splits in wins versus losses. So whatever you can do to get Harden to play like 4 for 13 Harden and not 45-point triple-double Harden, that's what you have to lean into. Yes, maybe there's some warts when you bring in Robb for the double big lineup offensively, but it's game 7. It's grime time. Like, let's just get dirty, block shots, dive on the floor, dominate the boards. Like, what can you control, right? And I think, you know, defensive intensity, rebounding, hopefully taking care of the ball much better. Like the 18 turnovers, man, that was, and bad ones.
Live ball. I think
live ball.
Keith Smith tweeted 14 of them were live ball, which is like, I just don't know how you win a game when you have 14 live ball turnovers. That's free points. So like, imagine how good the half court defense was if we had 14 live ball turnovers. Like that's
you have to be sick if you're Philly right now. And think about how, I don't know how you felt for the past 48 hours, but like I felt awful. I thought we were going to lose today. And so if you're Philly, they were riding high. You're getting all these turnovers. Like if you look at yes, they didn't shoot well, but like you'd get 18 turnovers off the Celtics for a team like the Sixers that doesn't generate turnovers. You get the Tatum like disaster class and you still lose. Granted, they've been better. Like the Celtics have been better on the road. Surely this is a spot where they can feel confident coming home here, but you have to be sick if you're Philly right now.
Last time we saw them at home in a playoff game, they absolutely took it to the Bucks, and Giannis ran out of gas because it's really hard to play this Celtics team when they actually play with pace, which I thought they did a pretty good job of trying to play with pace too. They just couldn't get shots to go. I mean, they went ice cold after that first quarter too. So like, it wasn't just Tatum bricking threes. At some points it was like everybody. And
it's a good point. Yeah. Cause like we were like 9 for 14 at one point.
Yeah.
And we ended 15 for 35.
And Tatum hit 3 at the end of the game. So at one point, I think it was we were 11 for 30 something. I don't know. I can't do math right now.
I know. Yeah. I was like, but it was bad. Like we were. Yeah. That's how we got that lead early. Was Brogdon and Derek hit 5 threes in the first half.
Yeah. Right. And that was it. That was the difference. And speaking of those two, they were the only 2 guys who came off the bench tonight. No Grant. There was a pregame like Shams report, I think, that said Peyton Pritchard's going to have a bigger role tonight. I don't know if that was Joe just like messing with the Sixers or something, but he did not sniff the court as my cat makes her annual appearance. Yeah. I thought we might see some Grant and we didn't. So did you think he should have? I mean, it's hard to say he should have gone to Grant when we win, but I wonder if we'll see him in game 7.
It didn't feel like at any point I was like, we really need Grant.
Yeah, no.
You know, like we needed pace and like offensively, you know, he's good for a turnover. And this is the thing about this team. Like we have everything we need. Yeah, Shams dangled the PP. What's the deal with these reports, man? Like it happened to the Warriors as well, where the starting lineup gets leaked like a couple hours before game time, and Steve Kerr comes out and says, apparently we have someone in the organization that likes to share info with Shams. same thing happens today. The PP information comes out. Like, obviously, the Celtics don't want that information to come out. To understand how that stuff's getting leaked to, he's so good at his job. I don't know how he's getting this information, but I don't feel like we needed Grant. Al Horford, played 39 minutes tonight. Thought considering he went 1 for 5, I thought he played amazing defense. Like, Embiid's just going to be Embiid. They held Embiid to 9 for 19.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And a lot of that's Horford. I thought they mixed up the coverages, but Al, I think you ride Al and Robb, right? Like, how many minutes did Robb play tonight? 27.
28, yeah.
Yeah, he's got, and we got 2 days off here. You know, I was the proponent of like, we're going to wear the Sixers down. It has not worked that way. Doesn't feel like, at all, really.
It's getting there.
Yeah. But look, we got 2 days off for Al, who just played 39, and Robb, right? So I think you're going to see 40 minutes for Al, and you're going to probably see 30 minutes for Robb, and that's going to be your 7. I don't think you need to go to Grant unless you get into foul trouble, which is obviously very possible. But I don't know. Maybe you think that Game 7 magic.
That's right.
You know,
pull Embiid out of that paint, baby.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? He can't hit 7 threes unless he plays. So you play him, and maybe he does hit 7 threes.
Yeah, Dom Spear in the chat. This is something I was thinking about yesterday. Is like, maybe guarding Embiid is just so friggin' tiring that Al's like, when you don't have your legs or you're saving it all for defense, like your shot might be a little off. So maybe it's that, but man, some of these are wide open threes that Al's missing that he's knocked down against Philly in the past. And it's not like he hasn't guarded Embiid in the past. So I don't know what's going on with his shot. Game 7 would be a very, very good time for him to find it, though. But Jake, I hate to cut this short.
No, yeah, man.
But
I was just thinking,
it's getting late here. So, any final words? What's your prediction for Game 7?
Not dead yet, fellas.
Not dead yet.
What do we say to death? Not today. Not today. I don't know anymore. I don't have a pick.
Nope.
I don't even know. Like, I'm just gonna hold on tight. I'm gonna grab my pillow. I'm just hoping I sleep. I've been waking up at like 5 a.m. and then the Celtics just get into my mind, and I'm like, well, I'm awake now. And I just have to wait until the game starts.
You know what I'll say? I'm damn glad there's one more game at least to watch of the Celtics season. So on that note, Jake, thanks for joining me, man.